5 alien princesses insulted Earth, until the king declared one human must impregnate them all. The galaxy had always laughed at Earth. They said humans were weak, slow, soft, and unimportant. And no one laughed louder than the 5 royal daughters of Zerithion. The most powerful empire in the Orion Arm, the princesses stood in their crystal throne hall. Their long glowing gowns floating like living light, they were feared across hundreds of worlds. Admired as warriors, scholars, and rulers, to them, Earth was nothing but a joke. A tiny blue planet filled with tiny creatures who did not understand the true scale of the universe. Princess Vela, the cold and sharp-tongued sister, smirked as she looked at a hologram of Earth. "Imagine choosing a mate from this dust ball," she said, her voice dripping with arrogance. Princess Kaira, the warrior, crossed her arms and laughed. "I would rather wrestle a black hole." Princess Serene, softer than the rest, hid a small smile that still said, "Humans look." Simple, the other 2 sisters, Lyra and Zephyra, joined in the mocking, calling Earth a planet of walking vegetables. But the laughter stopped when the walls trembled, and a hologram of their father appeared. King Zerithion, ruler of billions, was frail and dying. The princesses bowed, though their hearts were still filled with pride. The king raised his hand slowly. "My daughters, you all know my time is ending." A cold silence filled the hall. Then came the words that twisted their world upside down. "In my final will, each of you must choose one mate from Earth," the king announced with a voice heavy with mystery. The princesses gasped, shocked and insulted. "To keep your claim to the throne," he added calmly. Their outrage thundered through the hall. "A human? Never," Vela snapped. "This must be a joke," Kaira shouted. Serene looked confused, unsure if she should speak. Lyra demanded an explanation. Zephyra simply screamed. But the king's will was unbreakable, and his final words echoed like prophecy. "Only the human spirit can save Zerithion." Then his hologram faded into sparks, leaving the princesses shaken and furious. Across the galaxy, on the quiet and peaceful Earth, a man named Elias Ward had no idea that 5 alien royal sisters were coming for him. He worked at a small research station on a mountain ridge, a place where he studied wildlife and recorded weather patterns. He lived a simple life. He had no fame, no power, and no special destiny, or so he believed. That morning, Elias walked outside, carrying equipment, when he heard a sharp explosion in the sky. A small craft, unknown to Earth technology, spiraled down in flames. Without flinching, he ran toward the crash site. Snow and debris exploded around him. But Elias kept moving. Inside the wreck, he saw a trapped child, not human. With glowing silver eyes and soft blue skin, the metal door had collapsed on top of the child. Elias grabbed the edge and pulled. It did not move. He tried again, his muscles straining, his breath shaking. Finally, with a loud cry, he lifted the door just enough to drag the small alien child out. The child clung to him, trembling, and then he heard footsteps. 5 figures emerged from the smoke, tall, radiant, and terrifying. The princesses of Zerithion had arrived. Their eyes widened when they saw Elias holding the child protectively. A human standing between danger and a life that was not even from his species. Kaira whispered, "He lifted that door with his bare hands." Vela frowned sharply. "Impossible. Humans do not have this kind of strength." Serene stepped closer, her expression softening. "This human, he is not afraid of us," she whispered. And Elias indeed showed no fear. He did not kneel, did not tremble, did not stare in worship like beings across the galaxy usually did when facing Zerithion royalty. Instead, he simply asked, "Is this child yours? Are you hurt?" The princesses exchanged looks. No one had ever spoken to them like that. Not even generals. Not even kings of other worlds. Elias helped them carry the injured child back toward safety. Every moment challenged everything they believed about humans. Just then, the sky split open with a beam of golden light. A royal AI hologram of King Zerithion appeared above the mountain. Projecting his will, his voice boomed across the snow. "This human shall be the chosen mate for all 5 princesses." The aliens froze. Their expressions a mix of horror, shock, and silent chaos. Elias looked up, confused but unshaken. Vela whispered the words no one expected her to say. "This cannot be real." The hologram faded, leaving the 6 of them standing in a storm of destiny. And for the first time in their lives, the princesses did not laugh at Earth. They stared at a human, a simple human, and felt something they could not explain. Elias stepped forward and asked quietly, "So, what happens now?" The princesses had no answer, but the universe had already decided. And as the wind howled through the mountains, Elias calmly said, "If you enjoy sci-fi stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel." The princesses, confused and overwhelmed, looked at him with widening eyes. They had come to mock Earth, but Earth had just changed their fate forever. The princesses did not speak as the golden hologram of their father faded from the sky. Snow fell softly around them while Elias stood calmly, still holding the injured alien child against his chest. The 5 sisters, feared across the galaxy, were now frozen in complete disbelief. A single human, chosen by royal will to be mate to all 5. Princess Kaira stepped forward first, her warrior boots cracking the snow. "This is a mistake," she growled, her voice deep with anger. "No human can stand beside Zerithion royalty." Vela scoffed loudly. "Father has finally lost his mind." Her cold teal eyes locked on Elias as if he were a problem to be removed. "He is fragile, weak, and unworthy," she added sharply. Elias did not flinch. He gently set the child down near Serene, who quickly examined the little one. Then he turned to the sisters with a steady, calm gaze. "I did not ask to be chosen," he said quietly. "But I also did not run away." That statement shook them more than they expected. A human showing courage in front of 5 royal heirs. Kaira felt a strange spark of respect. But she pushed it away, immediately, before they could argue further. The sky above them roared open again, as a massive transporter ship descended through the clouds. Its engines shook the mountains, sending snow sliding down the cliffs. Royal guards surrounded the princesses within seconds. Forming a protective ring, one guard pointed his weapon at Elias. "Is this the human subject?" he asked, ready to fire. Serene stepped in front of Elias without thinking. "Lower your weapon," she ordered softly but firmly. The guard obeyed instantly. No one disobeyed Princess Serene. The princesses boarded the ship together, and for the first time, Elias felt small as he walked inside a vessel far beyond human technology. The entire interior glowed like living metal, shifting and breathing like an organism. As the doors closed, Elias felt a sudden coldness, not from the temperature, but from the 5 pairs of royal eyes staring at him, judging him, blaming him, rejecting him. Lyra crossed her arms, her long golden hair floating with static energy. "We cannot mate with him," she muttered angrily. "Our people will laugh at us forever." Zephyra nodded, her voice sharp like glass. "Humans are not compatible with Zerithion biology." But Serene, the quietest of the sisters, looked at Elias curiously. "He saved a child he did not even know," she whispered. "Not many beings in the galaxy do that." Vela rolled her eyes. "Compassion does not make him a king." Elias listened without reacting. He understood they hated the king's will, not him personally. Still, he stood in the center of the ship, like a lone tree in a storm. But something inside him felt strangely calm, as if this path had been waiting for him. When the ship lifted into orbit, the Earth shrank below them. Elias stared at his homeworld growing smaller and smaller. He felt no fear, only wonder. Then he felt 5 powerful gazes studying him again, trying to understand him. Trying to find weakness, Kaira finally spoke. "According to royal law, we must test him." Vela smirked wickedly. "Oh yes. Let us see if this human can survive even the first trial." They activated a floating cube that scanned Elias from head to toe. The cube projected numbers and patterns that shocked even them. "This cannot be right," Lyra whispered, leaning forward. "Human bone density? Too high. Reflex score? Abnormal. Brainwave pattern? Strange." Zephyr slammed the cube as if it were broken. "No human scores like this," she growled, but the cube flashed green repeatedly. Confirming the results, Elias simply shrugged. "I'm just built different, maybe." The princesses stared at him as if he were a puzzle they could not solve. When they reached Zerithion, the capital planet shone like a jewel made of blue fire. Millions of alien citizens surrounded the landing zone. All whispering angrily, they pointed at Elias with disgust. Some shouted, some laughed, some hissed. "A human? The king wants our future to mix with that? He cannot survive here. He is too small, too soft, too weak." But Elias walked forward without looking away. Even with 10,000 alien eyes burning into him, even with the princesses walking far ahead of him, treating him like a burden, he kept moving, inside the palace. The royal advisors bowed to the princesses, then glared at Elias as if he were a disease. One advisor whispered to Vela, "We can make this problem disappear quietly." Elias heard it, and Vela did not deny the idea. But Serene quickly stepped between Elias and the advisor, her silver eyes glowing. "We follow Father's will," she said softly. "Even if we do not understand it." Elias noticed the tremble in her voice. She feared him? No, she feared what this destiny meant for all of them. That night, they placed Elias in a heavily guarded chamber. Not for his safety, but so the princesses could discuss how to remove him from their fate. But before they could decide, a sudden alarm shook the palace. Lights reddened, guards shouted, and walls vibrated violently. Kaira ran in first, weapons drawn. "Enemy infiltration?" she barked. "Someone is trying to kill the human." The princesses rushed toward Elias's chamber, expecting to save him. But instead, they stopped dead, speechless. Because they found Elias standing over 3 unconscious assassins. His knuckles bruised, his breathing steady. He had defeated trained alien killers with no armor. "No weapons, no help," Serene whispered, trembling. "What? Are you?" Elias looked at the 5 sisters with calm, steady eyes. "I told you," he said. "I didn't ask for this. But I'm not weak." And for the first time, the princesses felt something they never expected to feel toward a human. Not hatred, not disgust, but the first spark of respect. They realized the trials had only just begun. The palace remained in chaos long after the assassins were dragged away. Guards ran through glowing corridors. Alarms flashed red across crystal walls. And advisors shouted orders that no one obeyed. But inside Elias's chamber, there was only silence. Heavy, tense, breathless silence. The 5 princesses stood in a half-circle around the human who had just defeated 3 trained killers alone. Kaira's warrior eyes narrowed with respect she tried to hide. Vela's cold face twitched with confusion. Lyra and Zephyra whispered nervously. And Serene stared at him as if she had never seen a human before. "How did you overpower them?" Kaira demanded, stepping closer. "They are elite shadows, trained in 7 forms of combat." Elias simply wiped a small cut on his forehead. "I didn't think," he replied softly. I just moved. That answer unsettled them even more. Humans were supposed to be slow thinkers, clumsy reactors, creatures who froze under threat, but Elias had reacted faster than Zerithion soldiers, as if human instinct itself was something alien, something unpredictable, something dangerous. Vela crossed her arms tightly. "This is unacceptable," she hissed. "A human should not have this strength." Elias shrugged lightly. "Maybe your assassins were just bad," he said calmly. 4 princesses gasped in offense. Kaira's lips twitched, a tiny, unwilling smile. Before anyone could argue further, a royal guardian rushed in. "Your Highnesses," he said, bowing deeply. "The king's will has activated the next phase." A glowing sphere in his hands floated upward, projecting golden symbols across the chamber walls. Princess Lyra stepped forward to read the message, her voice trembling as she spoke. Each princess must spend 1 full day alone with the human to test emotional and biological compatibility. Zephyra nearly choked. 1 day? Alone? With him? Serene blushed softly, unsure why her heart suddenly raced. Elias raised a brow. "Do I get a say in this?" "No." All 5 princesses replied at the same time, but the room shifted again. The golden symbols rearranged into a new line of text that made every princess go silent. The princess who dishonors the test loses her right to the throne. Now it was serious. Now their dignity, power, and legacy were tied directly to the human they mocked only days ago. And none of them were ready for that. Kaira stepped forward first, slamming her fist into her palm. "I will take the first day," she announced confidently. But she avoided looking directly at Elias, probably to hide the embarrassment burning in her warrior pride. The next morning, Kaira led Elias to the training grounds, a massive arena of glowing platforms, floating stones, and strange gravity engines. Alien soldiers watched from the sidelines, whispering insults about the human. Kaira tossed him a practice spear. "If you are to stand beside royalty," she said coldly, "show me you can survive 1 round." Elias held the weapon awkwardly. "I'm not a fighter," he warned. Kaira circled him like a predator. "Today you are," she replied. The fight began. Kaira charged with incredible speed, her movements sharp and deadly. Elias dodged, barely, his instincts kicking in faster than his fear. The second strike came harder. He blocked clumsily and slid across the platform, almost falling off, but his footing returned. His balance shifted, his eyes sharpened, and something inside him awakened. He moved in a way Kaira did not expect. Not trained, not skilled, but unpredictable, wild, human. He ducked under her blade, stepped to the side, and tapped her shoulder with the spear. The entire arena went silent. A human had touched a princess in combat, something no alien had ever done. Kaira stared at him, stunned, then she exhaled slowly. "For a human, you are not useless," she admitted quietly. Elias smiled faintly. "Thanks. I think." The second princess to spend a day with him was Lyra. She brought him to the royal archives, a floating library of memories, ancient scrolls, and glowing knowledge crystals. She expected Elias to be overwhelmed, unable to understand anything. But he surprised her again. He read symbols quickly. He asked questions no alien scholar had ever thought to ask. He noticed patterns no advisor had seen before. At one point, Lyra whispered under her breath, "Is your mind always this fast?" Elias simply shrugged. "Humans think differently," he said. "We break rules without meaning to." Lyra looked at him for a long moment, her expression soft, not with affection, but with recognition, as if she finally saw a human as something more than a joke. By the time the third princess, Zephora, spent her day with him, the palace was buzzing. Rumors spread like wildfire. Alien nobles whispered through the halls. The human fights like instinct itself. He learns faster than machines. He is dangerous. He is special. But Zephyrah took him somewhere no one expected, the royal gardens. She tried to discomfort him by showing creatures with glowing fangs and floating vines that whispered. But Elias did not panic. He simply observed, fascinated. When a vine wrapped around Zephyrah's arm too tightly, she stumbled. Elias reacted instantly, cutting the vine with a sharp stone and pulling her free. She stared at him with wide violet eyes. "You saved me," she whispered. "Again," he said gently. By nightfall, the sisters were confused, conflicted, and strangely drawn to him in ways they did not understand. But the biggest shock came last. When Elias walked past a glowing artifact in the hall, a royal bloodline stone. Only Zerithion royalty could activate it. No outsider had ever touched it without being burned. Elias brushed it accidentally with his fingertips. The stone erupted in bright golden light. The palace shook. The princesses gasped. Servants fell to their knees. "What did you do?" Vela shouted in disbelief. Elias stepped back, startled. "I didn't do anything," he said, but the stone glowed brighter, reacting to him, welcoming him. As if he were one of them, Serene whispered the unthinkable. "Father's will is not a mistake." And for the first time, all 5 princesses felt fear. Not fear of Elias, but fear of destiny itself. A human had awakened royal power that only aliens were meant to wield. The royal bloodline stone continued glowing long after Elias stepped away from it. Golden waves pulsed through the palace halls like a heartbeat from another world. Servants watched in shock, nobles whispered in panic, and guards tightened their grips on their weapons. Never in Zerithion history had an outsider awakened royal power, and a human doing it was unthinkable, impossible, unacceptable. Princess Vela stared at the glowing stone, her voice barely steady. "This should not happen," she whispered. "Only Zerithion blood can activate it." Kaira clenched her jaw tightly. "If humans can do this, everything we know about our bloodline is wrong." Zephyrah stepped back, fear rising in her violet eyes. "Father's will." "He knew something," she said softly. Lyra nodded, her mind racing. "He predicted this before he died." But Serene, the quiet princess, looked at Elias gently, almost with awe. "He is not an ordinary human," she whispered. Elias himself stepped away from the stone, confused and unsettled. "I didn't mean to touch it," he said. "It just happened." But the princesses knew better. The stone chose who it answered to, and it had chosen him. The king's AI flickered into existence above them, its holographic form shimmering like mist. "The will's second decree is now activated," the AI announced. "All princesses must continue compatibility testing with the human until emotional bonds are confirmed." The princesses groaned in disbelief. Emotional bonds? With a human? This was becoming a nightmare for their royal pride, but for their dying empire, it might be their only hope. Kaira was the first to regain control. "We continue," she declared, "whether we like it or not." Vela sighed sharply, turning away before anyone saw her trembling fingers. The next day was Serene's turn. She led Elias to the Hall of Echoes, a place where emotions were amplified by living crystals hanging from the ceiling. The hall glowed softly, colors moving with every breath. Serene stood before Elias with her hands folded politely. "I must test your heart," she said. "Not your strength," Elias nodded. "I'm ready," he replied, even though he wasn't. Serene activated the crystal resonance, and instantly the hall bloomed with light. As Elias stepped forward, the crystals reacted to him. They glowed warm gold, the color of trust. Serene gasped softly. "Gold? For a stranger?" Elias looked around, confused. "Is that good?" Serene's lips curved into a shy smile. "It means your heart is honest," she whispered. Then the crystals shifted into blue, the color of sorrow. Elias froze. "It's showing your sadness," Serene said gently. Stepping closer, "You hide it well. But it's there." Elias lowered his eyes. "I've lost people before," he admitted quietly. "Everyone has." Serene's expression softened even more. In that moment, she felt a connection she never expected to feel with a human. She reached out and touched his hand. A spark of light shot between them, making her gasp. But before she could say anything, the crystal hall suddenly shattered with a scream. A psychic shockwave blasted through the chamber. Serene stumbled backward, crying out. Elias grabbed her before she hit the floor, pulling her close protectively. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in black energy, a traitor from within the palace. "You do not belong here, human," the figure hissed. "You will destroy our world," Elias shielded Serene, keeping her behind him as the enemy stepped forward. Energy crackled in the air. The traitor lifted a hand, ready to strike Elias down. But before the blast could hit, Kaira burst into the hall, followed by Vela, Lyra, and Zephira. Kaira drew her glowing blade. "Touch him," she growled. "And I will end you," the traitor smirked. "You defend him? A human?" Vela stepped beside Kaira, her eyes sharp as ice. "He carries father's will," she said coldly. "He is under royal protection." The traitor lunged. Launching a deadly blast, Elias reacted first, pulling Serene behind a crystal pillar. Kaira countered with a charge. Lyra used psychic waves, and Zephira controlled the air. It became a whirlwind of energy. Blades and power. Elias watched fiercely, trying to understand the enemy's movements. When the traitor aimed a fatal strike at Zephira, Elias grabbed a fallen crystal shard. Without hesitation, he threw it. The shard hit the enemy's wrist, breaking his concentration. Kaira seized the moment and disabled him with one clean strike. Silence filled the hall again. The princesses turned toward Elias slowly. He stood there breathing hard, not afraid, not broken, just human. Human in a way they had never seen before. Zephira touched her arm where he had protected her. "You saved me," she whispered. Vela stared at him longer than expected. "Perhaps father was not wrong," she admitted quietly. Later that night, the five sisters gathered in the throne room without Elias. They sat in a circle, glowing light reflecting off their worried eyes. Kaira spoke first. "He is strong," she said firmly. "Stronger than we believed," Lyra nodded. "He learns fast. He adapts," Zephira bit her lip. "And he risks himself for us." Serene placed a hand over her heart, and the crystals reacted to him like he belongs. Vela closed her eyes, fighting her pride. "For the first time," she whispered, "I am afraid. Not of him, but of how quickly everything is changing." At that moment, the king's AI appeared again, glowing brighter than ever. "Prepare yourselves," it announced. "The next test will reveal the truth of your fate." A shockwave trembled through the palace. Ships outside sounded alarms. A message flashed across every screen in Zerithion. "The Voro Dominion has arrived." The princesses turned toward the window in horror. Hundreds of hostile warships surrounded the planet, ready for destruction, and so were deep inside the palace. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He knew, without understanding how, this war was coming for him. The invasion had begun, and a human stood at the center of it. Zerithian skies turned red as the Voro Dominion warships filled the orbit like a swarm of dark steel beasts. Their engines growled like thunder, their shadows stretching across the Empire's cities. Every tower, street, and crystal wall vibrated with fear. The Vorak had come for conquest. But more importantly, they had come for Elias inside the palace. Alarms screamed through the halls as soldiers ran in every direction. Princess Kaira tightened her gauntlets, her warrior eyes blazing with fury. "They dare invade our home," she growled. "For a single human?" Vela's voice trembled with disbelief. "Why does the Vorok want him? What do they know that we don't?" Lyra held her glowing tablet, analyzing intercepted signals. "Their transmission says he is something called a universal key," she read. "A rare bloodline catalyst," Zephyra hissed sharply. "A human? A catalyst for what?" But it was Serene who finished softly, her voice breaking. "For extinction or salvation." Elias stood among the princesses, absorbing their words. "I'm just a man," he said slowly. "I don't understand what they want from me." But the princesses understood. The Vorok wanted to use him. Breed him or break him. Kaira stepped forward and placed herself between Elias and the rising threat. "Human or not," she said fiercely, "you are under our protection." The palace shook violently as the first Vorok cannon struck the shield barrier. Blue fire spread across the protective dome, lighting the skies like a storm. Guards shouted, weapons hummed with energy, and countless citizens screamed as fear swept through the capital. Elias felt something heavy twist in his chest, not fear for himself, but fear for these alien women who are suddenly risking everything for him. The king's AI appeared with a burst of golden light. The Vorok Dominion believes the human carries genetic potential that can reshape bloodlines, it announced. Elias possesses instinctive adaptability, combined with Zerithion energy. It forms a new evolution. Zephyra's breath caught. They want to clone him, Lyra swallowed in horror. Or experiment on him, Vela whispered. Or weaponize him. The AI continued. The will predicted this war, and it predicted the only way to save Zerithion is through unity. Before the princesses could ask what that meant, the palace roof exploded. Shards of crystal rained down as Vorok soldiers dropped into the throne hall like armored shadows. Their black masks glowed red, their claws clicking loudly as they surrounded the group. "Seize the human," their leader commanded. "No!" Kaira roared, leaping forward with her blade. The battle erupted instantly. Kaira clashed with two soldiers at once, sparks flying. Zephyra summoned winds that flung enemies across the hall. Lyra used psychic blasts that shattered helmets. Vela froze soldiers in place with stasis fields. Serene shielded Elias with shimmering waves of light. Elias stood behind her, watching the princesses fight like living storms. Yet something inside him whispered, "Move." A Vorok soldier slipped past the sisters and lunged toward him. Elias reacted with pure instinct, his hand shooting out to block the blade. The impact should have cut him, should have broken him, but instead, his skin glowed faintly with golden light, the same energy as the bloodline stone. Elias grabbed the soldier and threw him to the ground with inhuman strength. The princesses froze for a split second, shocked by what they saw, but there was no time to question it. A second wave of Vorok soldiers crashed through the shattered ceiling. Kaira grabbed Elias's arm and shouted, "Run! They want you!" They rushed through the palace tunnels as explosions shook the ground. Every corridor was filled with smoke, burning metal and panicking civilians. Zephyra led them through hidden passages only royalty knew. Lyra hacked doors open with psychic waves. Vela covered their back with stasis traps. Serene kept Elias close, her heart pounding with terror. But the Vorok were relentless. They chased through halls, firing red blasts that cracked the walls. Elias stumbled as a blast hit close to his feet. Kaira caught him and pulled him forward. "You fall. You die," she snapped. "Keep moving." They emerged onto a landing platform where a royal Skydragon ship waited. Its wings glowed blue, engines pulsing like a beating heart. Zephyra pushed Elias aboard. "Strap in," she commanded, But before the princesses could board with him, a huge beam of red energy tore through the platform, sending shockwaves across the landing zone. The princesses dove for cover as a massive Vorak flagship descended above them. Hooked claws extended downward, reaching, grabbing Elias. His body lifted into the air as he screamed, "Serene!" Serene's eyes widened in horror. "Elias!" She leapt forward, but the claw closed around him, pulling him into the alien warship. Kaira slashed at the claw, but missed by inches. Vela blasted it with stasis beams, but was too late. Zephyr's winds could not reach him. Lyra's psychic energy broke uselessly against the Vorak shield. Serene collapsed to her knees as the flagship rose higher, her voice shaking. "They took him." The other princesses stood frozen, breathless. Defeated, enraged, the human they once mocked, rejected, and avoided was now the one they could not afford to lose. Kaira's fists trembled violently. "We're going after him," she vowed. Vela nodded, eyes burning with fury. "They want a war? We will give them one." Lyra wiped her tears and whispered, "No more running." Zephyr stood tall. "Prepare the fleet." Serene rose slowly, her voice soft but filled with power. "We save him, or we die trying." A final explosion lit the skies as the Vorak fleet surrounded their world. The princesses stared at the heavens, knowing the war was no longer about empires. It was about one human. Elias was gone, and the princesses were ready to burn the galaxy to get him back. Elias woke to darkness. Cold metal pressed against his back, and the air smelled of burned ozone and oil. His wrists were locked in glowing Vorak restraints. Humming with hostile energy, his vision slowly cleared, revealing the interior of a Vorak warship, all jagged steel, dark corridors, and red lights beating like a monstrous heart. A deep voice echoed from the shadows. "Human Elias Ward," the voice growled. "The universal key." Footsteps approached, and a tall Vorak commander stepped forward. Covered in black armor that pulsed with crimson veins, his mask opened, revealing reptilian eyes filled with hunger and ambition. Elias tried to pull against the restraints. "What do you want from me?" he demanded. The commander chuckled, his voice cold. "Your blood, your instinct, your evolution. You are something the galaxy has not seen before." He gestured toward a cylindrical tank filled with swirling crimson mist. "Inside this chamber, your DNA will be copied and augmented," he said. "We will breed an army using your potential." Elias's stomach twisted. "I'm not a science project," he growled. The Vorak commander leaned closer. "You are a weapon," he hissed, "and soon you will be ours." A robotic arm extended toward Elias, preparing to pierce his skin. But suddenly, the ship shook. A loud siren blared through every corridor. The commander snarled. "What now?" A soldier rushed in, panting, "Commander, the Zerithion princesses. They are attacking us." The commander's eyes widened in anger. "All 5 of them? Against a Dominion flagship?" Elias felt hope spark inside his chest. "They came," he whispered. "They actually came for me." The commander growled. "Fools," he spat. "We will crush them." But the next explosion said otherwise. The walls trembled as a massive blast tore through the lower decks. Flames spilled into the corridor, and smoke spiraled upward, through the fires. Elias heard a voice echoing faintly. "Elias, hold on." It was Serene, her voice cracked with desperation. The commander slapped a panel, and Elias's restraints tightened. "You will watch them die," he hissed. "They will burn, and your destiny will belong to the Vorak." Elias's heart pounded. He could not accept that, not after everything. He pushed against the restraints with pure instinct. The glowing chains cracked, sparks showered the floor. The Vorak commander froze. What? Impossible. With one final surge of adrenaline, The restraints shattered. Elias fell to the ground, breathing hard, golden energy glowing faintly beneath his skin. He did not understand how he did it. But he knew one thing. He could not let the princesses die for him. The commander lunged with a blade. Elias dodged, grabbed the nearest metal pipe, and blocked the strike with a loud clang. His arms shook with the force, but he held firm. Then he countered. Swinging with raw instinct, the Voro commander stumbled. Shocked by the human strength, "You should not be able to fight us," the commander growled. Elias wiped blood from his lip. "Get used to disappointment," he said. Before the fight could continue, the ceiling above them blew open. Kaira dropped into the room like a meteor, her blade blazing with blue fire. "Step away from him." She roared. Behind her landed Lyra, Zephira, Vela, and Serene, all glowing with fury. Elias felt his chest tighten with emotion. He had never seen them look so desperate, so alive, so determined. Kaira charged the commander immediately. Their weapons clashed with a deafening shockwave. Zephira blasted soldiers entering from the side corridor, sweeping them into the walls with hurricane winds. Lyra warped the environment with psychic bursts, twisting metal like soft clay. Vela locked enemies in stasis, freezing them mid-attack. Serene ran straight to Elias. She grabbed his shoulders with trembling hands. "Are you hurt?" she whispered. "I'm okay," Elias said. "But we need to get out." But the ship trembled again. The commander roared and unleashed a blast of crimson energy that threw everyone off their feet. Elias hit the ground hard. Coughing, the commander rose, bleeding but laughing. "You cannot escape," he spat. "We have your genetic data, and soon the galaxy will kneel to the Vorok." Lyra checked her scanner and gasped. "He's right." They copied his DNA. Serene's eyes filled with fear. "They will create hybrids, unstoppable soldiers." Vela shook her head violently. "No. Not if we destroy the data chamber," Kaira shouted. "Then we blow this entire ship apart." Elias stood slowly, body shaking but well unbroken. "I'll help," he said. Kaira frowned. "You're injured." Elias shook his head. "I'm not leaving without finishing this." Something in his voice made the princesses look at him differently, not as a burden, not as a mistake, but as someone who belonged beside them, together. They fought through corridors filled with fire and enemies. Every step felt like walking through death itself. But Elias never stopped moving, never stopped fighting. When the group finally reached the DNA chamber, a glowing engine of crimson energy, Elias stepped forward. The chamber reacted to him, glowing brighter and brighter. As if it recognized him, Serene cried out, "Don't touch it!" But Elias already had. Golden light surged through the entire ship, and the chamber exploded in a shockwave that cut every Vorok system instantly. The flagship began collapsing from within. Kaira grabbed Elias and screamed, "Run!" They raced toward the escape hangar as the floors fell apart under them. Zephira shielded them from falling debris. Lyra blasted open sealed doors. Vela froze collapsing beams in midair. Serene held Elias's hand and never let go, just as the ship detonated behind them. Their Skydragon vessels shot out into space. Fire and metal rained behind them like a dying star. Elias collapsed into a seat, panting. He looked at the princesses, all staring at him with wide, shaken eyes. Serene whispered the truth none of them could deny. "You saved us. You saved Zerithion." But Lyra checked the med scanner and froze. Her eyes widened, her breath caught. "Princesses, you need to see this," she whispered. "You all carry traces of human energy now." Serene blinked in confusion. "What does that mean?" Lyra swallowed. "It means you are all connected to him." And then the scanner beeped again. The reading changed. The princesses gasped together. Vela whispered in shock, "We're pregnant." The impossible had happened. and destiny had just changed forever.